And circumstances, it's perhaps not surprising that we're devoting tonight's cover story to the topic of television itself. The process known as aggregation has brought great changes for regional viewers. Celine Fernanda prepared this report on where regional TV has been and where it's going.
Television. It's been the heart and soul of country Victorians for more than 30 years. A link with each other, with the city and beyond. And it's gone through some big changes. Among them, aggregation, or deregulation of Victoria's television industry. Before aggregation, several country networks monopolised areas in regional Victoria. Viewers were essentially fed local content, backed by programming from the Melbourne stations. Aggregation, introduced by the federal government 2 years ago, opened up the market. If networks had the money and the know-how, they could transmit anywhere in regional Victoria. They were also forced to affiliate with one of Melbourne's 3 commercial stations. Aggregation was certainly an exciting prospect for country viewers. Imagine being able to access 3 commercial networks offering some of the best national and international programs. But the price was high. Localism would have to go out the door. But supporters of aggregation claim the public knew all the facts before they gave it the nod.
People were searching for that diversity by building very expensive antennas to try and capture the extent of networks coming out of Melbourne. But without a monopoly situation, regional television hasn't been able to sustain itself, and it's had to go network. It's had to take into account national and international movements in communications, and it couldn't be sustained.
So country television had to join the ranks of big business, and in a deregulated market where the advertising dollar had to be shared, cuts to local programming and staff were made. It's one of the reasons given for SCN TV axing local news. Despite this loss to rural Victoria, the federal government maintains its aggregation policy was a good decision.
It's the extra programs now that people have, and the choice has got to be balanced off against some of the negatives. Now, losing the local news is, I think, very, very poor management by the stations. But as I said before, it's not aggregation that's causing that. It's the boards of directors making economic decisions to blow their profits out a bit more than they already have.
The voice of rural people, the National Party, opposed aggregation, but eventually sided with the federal government when it was clear country people wanted a choice.
If you give people a choice between 3 networks making available programs and movies as they do in Melbourne, as opposed to local news and local programming, I'm afraid that they'll choose the 3 major networks every time.
Television is also a forum which makes or breaks political careers. Peter McGoran believes the loss of news services will disadvantage those wanting to challenge sitting country members.
It really makes the sitting members of Parliament more safe, and that's not a good thing. And I fear very much that people will not be able to hold their local members as accountable as they once did.
So what's the future? Well, viewers interested in metropolitan-directed diversity are the big winners, and those wanting localism, the losers. But it seems localism in many sectors has had its day anyway. Now it's up to the big boys of the communication world to give country people a fair go.
One of the critical problems we have in Australia is that the culture of Australia is dominated by urban Australia, and there's very little information getting back from regional Australia into urban Australia, and the national television networks will need to address this issue. It's a critical issue in terms of our national psyche.
For all regional Australians, that's the issue. The impact of television as it will be structured in future on how we think of ourselves and whether others think of us at all. Celine Fernanda, News at 6.